Okay.
man, we're also streaming to Periscope today.
Ooh.
Okay, shall we clap at 35?
Sure.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
I like the lag that we had with someone. I don't know who.
Yeah, I could tell you guys are a little behind me today.
That's weird. I heard one behind me, but maybe the other is. I don't know. I don't know what I heard. To me, it sounded pretty much exactly on, just like half a second difference.
It's all relevant. Or relative. It's very early.
It's also relevant. I also had 2 hours of sleep. So
oh no.
I slept pretty okay and got almost 6 hours. So
yeah, be ready for just terrible puns. And like not
how's that different from normal?
Yeah.
Wait, does that mean that you never sleep before the show?
Exactly. See, but just
right.
not following conversations. Just being like, what? All right, yeah, sure.
Lol day long. Okay.
God.
See,
save it for the show.
I mean, technically, this is the show.
Yeah.
Oh shit, you're right.
All right, let's get this started.
Sorry, give me 1 second. Just gonna get the timestamp ready. Okay.
Hello and welcome to Gaming Fix episode 99. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your girl's favorite PlayStation exclusive. I am joined today by Alex.
Luminous was really good.
I played Luminous on the phone, but never on the PSP. It was just on the PSP, right?
So. Yeah, at least when it came out.
Yeah. Pat.
So
is also joining us.
Do you kill giant robot dinosaurs, or are you a giant robot dinosaur?
Yes.
I am large. I contain multitudes. Do I kill myself? Very well, then I kill myself.
Wow.
So
all right. Happy weekend, everyone.
So yeah, episode 99 starting off just like we came in.
I brought myself into this world. I'll take myself out. It's going to be, I don't know. We'll see how this cast goes. Kind of low energy. Not a lot of games this week. Kind of.
Which is ironic. Well, not ironic, but coincidental given that this was originally supposed to be our Game of the Year deliberation day.
Yep, it was.
Yeah. I'm very glad that that's not what happened.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pat's playing one of the games that I want to get to before Game of the Year.
It's not that long. I mean,
I got to get, I just need to do it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have done it if we had been doing Game of the Year this week.
Yeah. I'm so glad that, we'll talk about that when we get to that game. Yeah, it's like, I think 24-ish hours. It's kind of
Jack Bauer of the game.
You can kind of, it has a finite amount of time, basically. Like there's only so long because it has a clock in it. So
wait, but before we get to that, Pat, another thing that happened with you is you hosted a game show.
Oh yeah, for work. Yeah. I try not to mix this and work too much, but it was pretty fun. Just for work's YouTube channel. It wasn't. That should be. I was going to be available yesterday. It should be available, if not today, by Monday.
Well, I look forward to seeing that. If you follow Pat on Twitter, maybe you'll get to see said video.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm going to disseminate it because I also talk about like dismantling capitalism on Twitter. So,
you criticize society, but yet you live in one.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's not so much that. It's more like I would hate it if someone that I have agitated on Twitter at any point goes to my work and like gets me in trouble. I think I'd be fine. I don't think I have anything to worry about, but
That's fair.
I'm
You don't
still
want to
figuring out that.
You don't want to dox yourself, is what you're saying.
I would rather people find it accidentally, and then I can just say like, look, I have a personal life with personal social media that's not tied to work, and like someone found it. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That's whoopsie daisy.
Well, now
I mean, how many like mid to large size people in the Pacific Northwest with beards and long hair working coffee, right?
Yeah.
It's
a
very, very niche market.
Yeah,
you're never
exactly.
going to be. Well, all our super sleuth listeners can go out and try and find that video next week and come back to us.
Yeah, Google Seattle coffee beard. You're bound to find it.
Is that just the thing where they dip their beard in the hot water and then they let it sit for like 3 minutes and then they give it to you?
So
hot wax.
So like,
no. It's they put the hot water in the cup and they put their beard in the cup. They let it sit for 3 minutes and then they serve it to you.
That's more like a tea.
True. It's
unless you're using your beard as a filter.
I don't want to think about this anymore. As the only person with a longer beard here, I don't want
to. Look, we can either talk about League of Legends or we can talk about beard coffee. Slow week in gaming this over here, except for you, Pat. And so I'm gonna toss it to you. Tell us about the double D's you got.
You're not wrong.
Well, unfortunately,
unfortunately, either game is a double D, but together it's a double D.
Yep.
It's like a Dedge. So I want to talk about Days Gone first because I'm the only one who's played that. So
in the world.
And me and Rami Ishmael, that's holding it down. So I picked up Days Gone when I picked up my PS4 Pro last weekend because I had been curious about it for a while. I dunked on that game really hard as it was coming out and like talked about how I thought it was the dumbest looking game ever and how it looked so stupid and how much I hate zombies and that people shouldn't be excited for that game. Like privately, I was actually kind of a dick to someone that I know who was like excited about it, and I feel bad about that.
How the tables have turned.
Well,
or have they?
We'll see. We'll get there. But it was like half off, and I had seen Rami tweeting about. I think
it was more than half off. It was like $20. Maybe the price has come down to 40.
Yeah, so the price is normally 40 now, but yes, you're right. It's more than that if you consider its launch price. But like a month or two after it came out, Rami was talking about how the second half of that game actually gets interesting from the perspective of like they get into where the zombie they're called freakers, where the freakers come from, which is an aspect of zombie storytelling that's part of why I usually don't like zombie stories, because they just sort of hand wave like, oh, it's a virus.
They listen to too much Missy Elliott.
But like one of the reasons that I like Resident Evil, for example, is I love the like convoluted mythology that it has of where everything came from.
Convoluted mythology in Resident Evil. What are you talking about? Those don't go together.
And I don't really care about the whole like the real monsters are the humans. That angle of zombie storytelling is really fucking boring to me. So I've never gotten into like Walking Dead. I like the classic George Romero movies and stuff, but beyond that, I'm not that into it. I like Dead Rising because Dead Rising is great. And
how about 28 Days Later?
It's okay.
It's got Cillian Murphy hanging dong. It's great. Every movie should open like that.
I think it's a good movie, but I'm not like super crazy about it, and I haven't watched it in ages. But generally I'm kind of like not crazy about zombie fiction. And I like the like where did it come from? But oh crap. My coffee machine's gonna do something. Hang on.
Oh yeah.
Damn it. I didn't even
get your beard ready.
Yeah. I'll be beard dipping soon. Anyway, so I picked up Days Gone thinking like, well, maybe it apparently gets interesting later on. And I have, as people know, if they've listened to me talk about open world stuff, I find it really like chill and comforting to play like map clearing games where where you get to like work up a percentage meter and like tick down stuff to do off of a map. So I heard that that's kind of the way that Days Gone is. So I don't really have any like rush to get through it, but it's because it's super long. It's like 50 hours or something. But I started it, and that game is a lot.
I have heard people were talking about some of the opening things, like the wedding at the beginning or something.
So the wedding's not that. So I only played it for like an hour, so I'm not that far. So it could be early. It opens though with it opens with like they're in a city. It's got to be like, I don't know, Bend or Portland or something. It's set in Oregon, the Pacific Northwest. And the environments are stunning. I got to say, like, I've been very pleased and impressed with my PS4 Pro purchase. And like, it runs extraordinarily well and the environments are gorgeous. Like going through like the woods and stuff is really, really pretty. Like significantly prettier. Maybe that's not fair, but it is like, it looks better than like Ghost Recon, which is another game I played this year that has a lot of woods rendered at high resolution. But anyway, the game opens and it's in like, you're in the city and it's the main character Deacon and his buddy Boozer. His name is Boozer.
Deacon St. John and Boozer.
Yeah. And like your wife is on the ground and they like suggest that she's been bitten by the freakers, which they're just like, they're just fast zombies. And you're like immediately like, what are we going to do? We got to get her out of here. And they like, you don't control any of this. This is all cutscene. They like take her onto a roof and there's this guy in a hazmat suit and Deacon's like, you got to let us get on this helicopter before it leaves. And the guy's like, I'm just a grad student, man. I can't take any more people. And Deacon's like, she's getting on this either she's getting on this helicopter or you are, one way or another, blah, blah, blah. And he pulls out a gun and like holds the guy at gunpoint. And the guy's like, okay, but I can only take 2 of you, which is like, okay, because of the weight. And Boozer's like on the roof. And you put your wife on the helicopter and Deacon's like, she's just been stabbed. That's it. She was stabbed. Wasn't a freaker. And the guy's like, okay. And Deacon like looks at Boozer and looks at his wife and Deacon's like, I got to stay with Boozer. He's never going to make it on his own. And your wife's like, no, do not stay with Boozer. And then Deacon's like, sorry, babe. And then he like lets the helicopter go. And he's just like, what the fuck? And then he goes with Boozer, and then that's like, and then it just ends, and that's the beginning of the game. And it's
just
not
like Last of Us.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's touching, makes you cry.
And I had to turn on subtitles because the way it'll be like police sirens and fires and like people screaming, and Deacon's like, we're really in this shit now. And I was like, excuse, what? What did you just say? So like the audio mix is way off the charts. The lip syncing is awful. Like it doesn't look like they're just going like,
this is great for an audio medium.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. I was like opening and closing my mouth flatly. It was just very stupid. But and then it goes to 2 years later. It like cuts to 2 years later, and you and Boozer are like hunting down this guy named Leon, which all I could think about was Ashley screaming Leon in Resident Evil 4 the whole time. And you're like chasing him, and the dialogue is, the thing is, it's funny, and I'm very excited to play more of this game. Like controlling it is fine. It's pretty good. It plays like the motorcycle's fun to ride. And then when you do like the combat stuff, it's very much like The Last of Us in terms of the way that the game part works. When you have like, or even Remnant from the Ashes kind of does a similar thing where when you push right trigger without holding down left trigger, you swing your melee weapon that you have. And then when you aim down the sights, you can fire your gun. And the shooting is fine. It's not like particularly good, but it's super, super serviceable. The melee stuff is fine. You just mash the button and you do like swing combos and stuff. It's got stealth. You can approach things stealthily. If it were like a linear game, I would probably say it's kind of shitty, but because of the like limited stuff that you do, but because it's an open world game, it feels fine. It's like, it's cool. Like the gameplay's good and the world is really, really pretty and huge. And there's a lot of stuff to collect. The skill trees are really good. I've talked about it this year in relation to the Outer Worlds. But the skills are like not just statistical increases. There's a couple of those, but they're like, it doubles your speed or whatever. And most of them are like, now you can reload while you're sprinting, or now when you sneak in the rain, your footsteps get obscured or something. Like, I don't know. They're like pretty meaningful things. And so like gameplay wise, it's really cool, but holy shit, the dialogue and story in this game is like, I can't tell. I like Ben Studios, and I don't mean to like dunk on their narrative team because like, I think they're cool. They're based not that far from where I live and stuff. Like, I appreciate them. I really hope they're conscious of how ridiculous this story and the dialogue is, and that they didn't think they were writing stuff that's really deep and sincere.
If they name their character Deacon St. John,
you gotta think there's some self-awareness there, right?
And like the line, I can't remember what the line from The Wedding is, but it seems very.
She says, I promise to ride you like you ride your motorcycle, or
ride your hog, or
that
whatever.
sounds like what's that game? Ride to Hell. Yeah, it sounds like that level of writing.
It's not quite that bad, but like my partner and I were just like cracking up because the whole time, like you're chasing after Leon in this opening gameplay sequence, and then the bike riding is good and stuff, and they're yelling at each other, and like it's like the dialogue is like, you find this woman who is injured that and then she dies, and like Leon killed her, and that's why you're after him. And Boozer's like, it's you and Boozer. It's always you and Boozer. And Boozer's like, son of a bitch is going to pay. And you get on your motorcycles, and then Deacon's like, we got to catch that son of a bitch. And then Boozer's like, that son of a bitch is up ahead. He's got ammo. And he's shooting at you. And they don't actually have accents like that. I'm inferring those accents. They sound like they're from Oregon. They're fine. But then there's a point when Boozer's like, we almost got that son of a bitch. And then Deacon goes, son of a bitch.
Wow.
It's like, this sounds like a teen writing like their Sons of Anarchy fan fiction.
Yeah. I'm really not making it up. We were just like, they say that every single time, like every sentence. It's like punctuation. And then
that's just how it is in Oregon, right?
It's true.
And
sorry, it's on the flag.
They say there's a lot of other language too, but that was the one that stuck out to me. That's like, it's like, and so like, you get to Leon, and then the way they tell you that it's a dark and edgy world is, Leon's like bleeding out because he got into a gunfight with you, and Deacon's like, you better tell us where the stash is, or I'm going to let the freakers get you. And you can hear like freakers snarling off in the distance. And Leon's like, okay. And he gives you a map to his stash. And then you turn around to leave, and he's like, you promised, like, do it. And then Deacon turns around and blows his head off. And
I thought D-Horse was gonna come and poop on his face.
No, Deacon's got to do it. He told Deacon to do it.
Oh yeah.
But Deacon, it's not like a emotional moment. Deacon just like turns around and shoots him in the head. No. And it doesn't blow his head up, but it just shoots him. Yeah. But then you like go back home, and Well, no, then your bike gets stolen. There's stuff that happens. They definitely, I think there's going to be a lot of story in this game because even in the opening like hour and a half, there's a lot of stuff that it's not even like anything meaningful really happens. It's just a lot of like, well, your bike got damaged. That's what it was, damaged. And then you need to ride with Boozer. You jump on Boozer's bike and you got to go through a dark, spooky tunnel where you shoot some zombies and then get to this like place where they have, because you need a fuel injector for your bike. And then you got to sneak into this garage and get the fuel injector. And then there's this clan or like cult of people called the Rippers. And Rippers, they're called that because they're the rest in peace, not impede, rest in peace, like clan or whatever, or cult. And they like believe the zombies are like there to set them free or something. I don't know. And they're like holding Boozer down and like blowtorching his arm.
This is all in the first hour.
Oh yeah.
Is their slogan like "Let it rip"?
I wish.
No,
our slogan.
You sure it's not for the bong rips they're doing?
Boozer and I's slogan is crank it.
Hell yeah!
And so then, which I'm very excited to report. Not in the way that you can masturbate, but you can crank your bike. You can sit and just run the throttle, and it's
wow.
Yeah,
okay. I was interested, but
what has the better cranking it sound? Death Stranding's toilet or the Days Gone motorcycle?
You can modulate the cranking it in Days Gone, so I got to give it to that game.
Okay. Because like just the overall sound effect, just like I
think like for a pure cranking it sound effect, so far Death Stranding has the better one, but I haven't upgraded the bike very much, or I have at all.
Execution goes to Days Gone, sound goes to
So like ultimately your bike gets stolen. That's kind of how ends up happening. You go get this fuel injector. Boozer gets his arm blowtorched, which is just a weird, I don't know, but his arm's all burned up. And so, you go back to your bike and your bike's stolen and Boozer's all fucked up because like which, you know, in real life, if your arm was blowtorched for it's not like quick. It's like they hold a blowtorch to his arm up and down it for a long time. The cutscene is not as unpleasant as that would be and look in real life because it's a video game, but the concept's pretty awful. So Boozer's fucked up. He's not doing great. And your bike is stolen. And so you go back to your like home and Deacon and Boozer just like live in a Firewatch tower. With a fence around it. And so then you have to go find, the people that stole your bike, and it turns out it's this guy, like it's this encampment that you have kind of weird relationship with. The guy who runs the chop shop there like is like, yeah, we got this fucking shitty bike in that sucked ass that I took apart for parts and parted out. And Deacon's like, oh my God, that was another great part. So this Manny guy is like the mechanic in this camp. And there's some reason that Deacon and Boozer can't live in the whatever society exists still. My guess is what happened is Deacon's wife turned into a freaker and killed a bunch of people at a camp because she was bitten and he said that she was stabbed and whatever. So I think that that's where it's going. But either way, people don't really like him, but they're not like kill on sight. Only the like marauder people do that. Manny, the guy who parts out this bike, likes Deacon, and he's like, "You got this shitty bike in," and Deacon's like, "Oh yeah, did you get a shitty bike in?" And very like heavily trying to imply to Manny that it's his bike, and Manny's just like, "Yeah, it sucked ass, man. Like I took it apart and took it apart parts." And Deacon's like, "Oh, where did you get the shitty bike?" And then the guy's like, "Yeah, it was missing a fuel injector." And then you pull the fuel injector out of your pocket, and then Manny puts it together, and Manny's like, "Oh fuck, man, I'm so sorry." He's like, "I'll help you get a new bike." And then Deacon's like, "I spent years putting that bike together. That was a drifter bike," as if that means something. And Manny's like, "I'm so sorry, man. I'll find you replacements." And then Deacon looks at him and goes, "You can replace the gas tank that was given to me by my dead wife."
Oh God.
So his wife was clearly in the gas tank. It's a Bionic Commando situation.
Oh man, can you imagine if that's what it is?
But then
That
Manny
explains why he's always riding that bike so hard.
Cranking it.
his wife. So Manny gives you like a shitty bike that he pieces together. So that's like it's sort of like Mad Max in a way where like you're trying to, part of the game is upgrading your bike and getting new components for it. But it controls really well, and the world is impressive. Like it's huge and it feels authored in a smart way where it doesn't just feel like you're just like going through endless forest. It has there's like distinct visual markers and stuff. There's like this sounds like a minor thing, but like you're not seeing the same tree over and over again or the same rock or whatever. So the tech that they have is impressive. And then again, on the Pro, it looks gorgeous and it runs really, really solid. So
one of the things I remember from like the preview footage or whatever, like when they were showing trailers for it at every event, was that it had like billions of whatever freakers or whatever, like just tons and tons of characters on screen at a time. Like, did that pan out to the real game?
So when you're trying to escape the Rippers with Boozer, you kill him and then rescue him. You can see a horde of freakers like coming, but it's not particularly menacing because they're pretty far away. So it doesn't feel like you have much to worry about. They kind of just are coming after you. If you just stood there, they would eventually come and kill you. But there are types of freakers called swarmers that I've only encountered in small numbers, but if you get like more than one or two of them at a time, it says they're super dangerous. I also think the game does a smart, the difficulty settings are really cool. I wish it let you change them more. You can only change it from easy to normal and normal to easy, but there's like easy, normal, hard, hard to, survival, and survival to. So it's interesting to me. And I guess there's a new game plus, so you can start it over again at a higher difficulty and keep your stuff. But I don't know, like mechanically, it's really cool. I shouldn't even say, earlier I said if it was linear, it would seem kind of thin, but I don't even know if that's fair because I'm still unlocking mechanics and stuff, and what's there feels pretty good. And it takes a lot of nods from The Last of Us in terms of like you're picking up stuff all the time for crafting, but it's not tedious feeling. It's like you just tap the square button to pick stuff up and it picks up everything around you. As so far as I haven't encountered any like inventory limits. The only limits are like you have one sidearm, one main weapon, and a special weapon, and then your melee weapon. So like right now I have a crossbow, a pistol, crossbow special weapon, pistol, and then a board or whatever. And the melee stuff is really simple. You only carry one thing at a time. So if you find something that's better, you just switch to that. It's not like you're managing an inventory of melee weapons. They have durability and break eventually, but you just grab another one. There's ways you can repair them if they're particularly good, but it's cool because they have like two stats. There's durability and damage. So you can find weapons that'll last a long time and don't do a ton of damage, or you can find, like I have a fire axe right now, which does a lot of damage, but only lasts like 5 or 10 swings.
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I had the same thought when I picked it up. I was like, shouldn't this be like very durable? But it can't be very durable and do a shitload of damage. But yeah, I don't know. You do have to like fuel your bike. I don't know if that's going to get frustrating. So far,
You just pee in the gas tank. Get Boozer to do it.
So you're just peeing in your dead wife.
well, now I don't have my dead wife's gas tank.
Yeah.
Oh,
man.
right. Sorry.
Someone else has
Got to get it back. But yeah. Anyway, it's fun. The one thing that I will say is like, unironically, I'm not saying this as like they're two dudes that are really close. I think that Deacon and Boozer are definitely in love with each other and they should push their beds together. Because the relationship that they have is like as stupid as the dialogue is, their relationship is very like loving and touching in a weird way that I kind of am like very, very on board with. Because like the degree of care they have for one another is like pretty intense, and I appreciate it. So I hope that that's where the story goes and that they realize that sexual orientation aside, that they love each other and that that Deacon doesn't need his dead wife because he's got Boozer. And that's going
to be the sequel.
Son of a bitch, I love you.
Exactly. Yeah. Although they keep calling each other brother, which is weird for my fan fiction, but I don't believe they're actually related at all. They just
listen here, Jack. There's nothing wrong with two brothers. They love each other.
Okay.
So it's not as bad as you were thinking?
Sure, a guy can pee in his dead wife to power his motorcycle, but when two guys call each other brother, they can't be in love. I see.
So yeah, that was a fun thing to boot up and start. I will definitely be getting back to that and playing more of it. I'm not in any hurry. I don't think it needs to be played for Game of the Year consideration. There is a chance that I'll come out the other end thinking that it's pretty fantastic in spite of some of its stuff, but it's fun so far. So if you can get it, like the sale was last weekend, but if you can get it super, super cheap, I wouldn't hesitate to try it out. I don't think I would recommend it at $40 based on what I've played for most people, but there is a lot of game there. It's really long.
If you're into value, it seems like a good time to money proposition.
The back of the box I enjoy because it just says, "This world comes for you. Survive a dangerous life on the road as outlaw biker Deacon St. John. Face freakers and merciless humans in a world ripped apart by a deadly pandemic." And then the features of the game are explore a harsh open world, craft weapons, and upgrade your bike. Discover a gripping story of personal loss. And that's it.
Succinct.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it looks gorgeous. Like all like dunking on the writing side, they achieved something pretty impressive, I think, with the environment visuals. The people look... The animations for the people I don't think are very good, but the environments are really, really impressive. And like there's a lot of rain is kind of a mechanic because it's the Pacific Northwest. It rains a lot. And like when it's raining, it's easier to be stealthy. The rain looks really, really nice. And it's like downpour too, like not just
Silent Hill.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. You don't see a lot of like really, really good looking rain that is thick. It's not just like drizzling. So like in Death Stranding.
Death Stranding's got some good downpour stuff.
It does. So most of what I've seen is like it's like, I guess it's when you're really in the BT areas, it's pretty good. So
it like you get to points later in the game where it like really comes down. Cool. And then like kind of at the end of the game, there's some like really intense weather stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
I won't get too into that, but I did play a little bit more of that. And I got to the point where you go to the weather station and it like unlocks the weather system or whatever. And that's pretty cool. I think that's,
I'm
sure it doesn't matter that much because it mostly stays in the same place, but.
And sometimes it's just there is going to be rain here no matter what. It's never going away.
Yeah.
Come on.
But it's nice now. It's on my map, so I can go around it if I don't want to deal with it, which is kind of cool. Also, very briefly, no one told me that the minor mechanical spoiler for Death Stranding. No one told me that there were skateboards in this game.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, they're not skateboards,
no,
but
they're not.
It's
but there's like hover platforms that you can put cargo on and they like are tethered to you and they follow you.
I forget that not everyone watched like all the gameplay stuff beforehand,
but you can ride them.
Yeah. On like, especially downhill, and like they avoid, like they go over rocks really easily. Like mostly sometimes they'll screw up and you'll just like, yes. And all your cargo goes flying off your back.
It's the most epic bailing I've ever seen.
But when it's working well, you just like fly over all like the rocks on the ground.
I'm gonna just like load up without a delivery and practice riding it because it's really fun to ride it down hills. You push the square button to like kick on flatter ground, and it kicks like you would a skateboard. The only thing I'm not understanding is how to slow down.
I think if you
grip, you slow down, but it's like binary. You're either like stopping or going. There's no like
yeah.
I'm wondering if there's I got to figure out a technique if you have to like carve or what to like control your speed.
This isn't Shaun White's.
I don't know.
Stranding.
Game's got some physics. So anyway, I was very excited when I found that out. But I did
snowboarding presented
the first thing. I had like 4 deliveries on my back to go to different places when I first got the floating platform. And so I hopped on it and I was like, this is awesome. And then I went down a hill and you go so fast and you can't control it. And I was like, oh God, what's happening? And then I hit a rock at the bottom and just like flew through the air and all of the cargo like disconnected in the air and then crashed across the ground. And it was in a mule area. I have a hard difficulty now. So the mules are rough. Hard difficulty in that game I'm enjoying so far. I'm going to drop it if it gets tedious, but I had never even looked at container repair spray until I bumped it up to hard. It's pretty cool.
There's a sequence near the end where container repair spray is pretty important. As you get up into the mountains, it becomes more important, but like for the most part, I never really had to worry about repairing stuff throughout the game, but like I was happy to not have to worry about that kind of stuff. I was like kind of there to experience the story. Especially as I got further in, I was like, okay.
I'm positive that I'll bump it down at a certain point. I'm going to be like, okay, I get it. And I'll bump it down. But it's nice. It doesn't punish you really for switching it. It just gives you you can't switch to the higher difficulty right when you deliver stuff. If you, whatever the lowest difficulty you had it set at during a delivery, that's what it gives you rewards for. But like I had gotten S's for every single delivery prior to that, but on hard difficulty I started getting B's because they want you to like the containers get damaged more easily, the requirements are a little more stringent. So yeah, that's cool. I still like that game. That was not the game that I intended to talk about. Yeah, it was not the other of the, even though that's also a D game.
Man, this is a triple D episode. Somebody call Guy Fieri, or don't.
Oh, God,
don't tell his lawyers. Take our podcast down.
Days Gone, Death Stranding, and Days, Death, and Disco. Which interestingly is a way that could be like the back of the box for
Disco's dead, baby.
Yeah, my partner asked why the game is called Disco Elysium, and I had to like pause it, push back from my computer, and go, okay, so because I can understand why it's titled that, but it is it's a very metaphoric, esoteric title. So I've been playing Disco Elysium. I'm almost halfway through it. If the amount of days you have means anything. And it should, because like time progresses pretty standard on a pretty standard curve.
I've heard you can finish it like pretty quick, or you can like take the full.
Yes, you can definitely finish it prior to the time that, depending on the choices that you make. That game is incredible. It is unless something happens and it gets really bad, that game is a remarkable achievement. And I saw there was a Steam review that I saw that said it really well. And I'm paraphrasing, but they were talking about how like it's not incredible because it does some revolutionary new thing conceptually. It is just a game that is written by people who have a real craft to their writing in a way that you just don't see. And again, I mean, not trying to take anything away from game writers out there, but like this game's writing is just on another level from most stuff that I see and play. It's just like so whip smart. It is hilarious. I won't spoil anything, but like it has the funniest dialogue that I've, like a specific sequence of dialogue. I laughed harder playing it than maybe I've ever laughed at a video game. It is, really, 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 really smart. It is also like just, it'll go from like making you laugh out loud hard to like bone crushing sadness to like really, really intense, oh God, I got to click the next thing. What's going to happen next in the space of like a half an hour? You'll get all three of those things. It's so smart. So like for people who haven't played it too, I should lay out that it is like a isometric RPG. There is virtually no combat. I haven't encountered any combat yet. And it doesn't have a combat system.
I've heard all the combat is still through the same
in the dialogue
conversation system. Mechanics. So.
Yeah. So like the concept is that it is set in a sort of Central/Eastern Europe country in a fictional world that's not based in the real world at all. Where the city was sort of the like ground zero for a failed communist revolution. And then a coalition of outside governments took the city back and then basically like took it over and govern it and didn't reinstall the original government. And all of that happened about 50 years ago in game time. It's all like kind of like it's not post-apocalyptic in that there was no apocalypse, but the city was shelled heavily during that war 50 years ago and never really recovered economically, at least not the area of the city that you're in. So it has a very kind of like stuff is bombed. There's buildings that have like been hit by artillery and there's rubble around still. So it is not a pleasant space, but it is a space people are living in and existing in. You play this police detective that was there to investigate a murder, an apparent lynching in the backyard behind the hotel that you're staying in. And you instead went on a 3-day bender of drugs and alcohol abuse and lost your memory. And so the game starts with you kind of waking up after going on this bender. From there, it's all dialogue driven for the most part. You're exploring the space isometrically and like finding items and stuff, but the meat of the game is in the dialogue. It has a time of day, a clock that goes by, and the time of day advances when you're in dialogue, like when you're in conversations. And it's like weird. I don't quite know exactly how it calculates that because it almost seems like a minute goes by in real time while you're talking to people, but that can't be because the game is only like 25 to 30 hours. So yeah,
it depends on how far into the conversation tree you get.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Every branch you take like brings it minute, whatever.
It's really impressive because it is a system that gives you a sense of time and like, I need to plan the things that I want to do, but you never feel rushed because when you're outside of dialogue during that time, when you're like, what am I going to do next? The clock isn't ticking. And when you're moving around the world, the clock isn't ticking. So you feel safe to explore and you don't feel super rushed, which I really appreciate. And then the dialogue itself, like I keep saying, is like exquisitely written, and you have a constant inner conversation going on with basically your different skills.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of skills. I think it's like 16, might be more than that, but they're tied to, like with a lot of tabletop stuff, this game is super, super tabletop-y. Your skills are tied to an attribute. And you have like your mind attribute and your, I don't even remember what they're all. There's physique, there's mind,
empathy.
Like but yeah, so each like top layer attribute has several skills in it. And so, you'll have passive checks that happen where there's like a skill check hidden that tests itself against your stat. And if your stat is at the level, then your inner monologue will say like for example, I have very high Inland Empire. Inland Empire is just like kind of like an understanding of like the street and the city and like what goes on in the street, on the street and in the city. And so my Inland Empire is very high. So sometimes when if I'm talking to like a drug dealer or something, then it'll give me a passive check that's like my Inland Empire will come up as a dialogue person that when I'm talking, and it'll say like, this person probably knows the location of da 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 da. But it does it more creatively than that. It's like it's actually well written. So you have that kind of element, and then also you're making skill checks in dialogue trees. And dialogue that's like a loose term. Sometimes it's literally talking. Sometimes it's like you're interacting with an inanimate object or something, and it's all done through the same interface. And the skill checks are like very transparent. This is what the difficulty is. This is what your skill is. You have to roll the difference on 2 dice, and it'll give you a percentage chance. But also, if you've rolled dice before, you'll be able to see like, okay, so I need a 10 on 2 dice. And I really dig that. There's also a whole system called the thought cabinet, where like I was saying a lot of stuff. The core of the game is about basically a labor dispute. That doesn't really give anything away. And then it gets deeper than that, but you have a lot of opportunity to talk about communism because of the way the world is set. And so I kind of just sort of started talking about like role playing a very pro-communist character. And at some point my brain stopped me basically and was like, hey, so are you into communism? And if you say yes, then your character starts like thinking. You have the option to then internalize communism. And this character that's kind of like Marx-ish, his name is Mazov, Carlos Mazov, I think. He's like the equivalent of Marx in this world. And so you can kind of like internalize this thought. And then over time, once a timer goes up, then you get a bonus. So like now I have minuses to a couple of skills, but I get 4 experience points every time I choose a piece of dialogue that is like leftist. And you kind of have to figure that out. It doesn't tell you what the leftist dialogue is. So that stuff is just very, very cool. At one point, because of the way I had been playing the character as being kind of a dipshit, because he fucked up real bad before the game started, the game was like, hey, do you suck? And it's like, yes, I suck a lot. And it's like, okay, so you fucking suck then. And then I got a skill that's basically like to internalize. That's basically like, you suck ass.
Yep.
And so it's very, very good in those ways. And like I said, just very, very funny, very, very smart. The thing that I find most impressive about it is if you take certain parts of that game out of context, they seem borderline problematic. Like there's a lot of characters that deals with a lot of themes of like racism and misogyny and stuff like that. And there are routes you can take for certain quest lines that are not good, like not moral at all, and not in the like, oh, I help the bandits instead of the farmers kind of morality. It doesn't do that thing. It does like,
hey, what are you trying to say about Fable?
it does much more complex stuff. And at first I found that troubling because I'm kind of the belief that like, you don't really need to let people role play a racist. But in this game, it still has a concrete sense of morals from that it's operating from, and it just injects those into the world. So it's not, I think the reason that you're not seeing a bunch of like backlash around this game being political, because it is hyper political, is that it never feels like it's preaching. But it always feels like it has a stance, and the way that it conveys that information to you makes it very clear, like what the game thinks of the decisions that you just made. Because your inner monologue will like talk to you and say like, wow, that was fucked up. Or like, for example, you have a skill called electrochemistry, which is basically like your affinity for drugs and your ability to understand drugs. And like, it'll do stuff like your electrochemistry will pop up and be like, this guy knows where to get speed. Ask him for speed. And then you can try to get speed if you want to. And you can be like, no, stop it. I'm not doing that anymore. And your electrochemistry will like come back later and be like, come on, baby, you want some speed. And it's that's how all of those kind of interactions are. So when you encounter, and it also lets you play the like I encountered a racist guy, and I encountered him with my partner, who is, again, they don't really have like, the different like places and ethnicities don't necessarily map directly to our world, but he appears to be of Asian descent. And his name is Kitsuragi, Kim Kitsuragi. And so, you know, he kind of, it's sort of implied that he is of Asian descent or their equivalent. And there's a super racist guy you meet at one point. And they have an argument, and I backed my partner, obviously, because like, fuck that guy, the racist guy. And then for reasons I won't get into, I later encountered that same character by myself, the racist guy. And I like dug into it a little more and was like, so what's wrong with you? And he basically like very calmly lays out like a white supremacist like ideology to you as to why he's racist. And you can sort of be like, I'm starting to understand racism now to him. Or you can be like, fuck off, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And that's the option that I chose. And that closes certain dialogue paths later on, and maybe will lead to a thought cabinet thing that I can slot in. And if I had chosen to say that I'm a racist, then like characters that are like your partner character is a cool character. And if you say you're racist in front of them, then he's going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And so I don't know. It's just, it doesn't ever feel like it's preaching, but it also doesn't ever feel like it's rewarding you for being a piece of shit. And it doesn't really feel like it's rewarding you for much of anything, really. I think it's going to be dependent on what you find rewarding, I guess, in that world. And so I don't know. It's very interesting. I think it's absolutely worth playing. There's a little bit of stuff you kind of like, if you find written descriptions of medical stuff challenging, that's a thing I would content warning it for, because like you do some crime scene investigation and that gives you some pretty juicy descriptions of ways in which you are examining a corpse that is pretty fucking gross.
In a class I took in college, it's a human sexuality class, my teacher showed us some surgery videos on YouTube of like, one, why did you make us watch that, lady? Two, they just have surgery videos on YouTube.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
they're on TV as well.
Mm-hmm. On TV, really?
Yeah.
They have been since the 90s, at least that I can remember.
I've never come across that channel.
Yeah, I don't know. So this game, I would say that it has a lot of stuff too that just, if you kind of do have to be willing to read some pretty rough stuff at times, because it's got a lot. But they do things like, you can clearly tell that like the developers are certainly not hoping that you go down the being an asshole route, because of things like you meet some characters, some kids early on that throw homophobic slurs at you, but they bleep out in the voice acting, it's bleeped out, and they star it out in the dialogue. So like they're not trying to actually make you read slurs and stuff. Like they're employing certain really heavy language and concepts, but I don't think that as a developer that their intent is to like make you a racist or whatever. And there's some really poignant stuff in there too. So I don't know, you kind of have to play it to understand it. I was very skeptical at first of the shittier stuff that you can say and the shittier characters, but now that I see it all in context, it's pretty incredible the way that they put this world together, and it feels like believable in a way that is really really cool.
I think like I'm only about 2 hours in, but I think it's also in extremely stark contrast from what I played in the Outer Wilds. Like
Outer Worlds,
sorry,
yeah,
that's the one. It happened. But yes, Outer Worlds, because like I think we're far enough away from the launch that I can say like that first decision of like the generator thing, like I was like, this is really stupid. Like, but like this has weighty decisions that seem like they actually impact the game like in perpetuity, like within the first hour or two.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that you're not seeing. So that was why at first I was like, well, whatever, I picked this dialogue option over this dialogue option. Like, what difference does it make? And I felt like there wasn't a lot of role playing happening because I was like, well, I have a checklist of things to do, and I go down one direction until I can't anymore, and then I pull out and go to a different place. But actually, all of those choices feel like they're very meaningful. I don't know for a fact, but even down to like when you like the ways in which you end conversations sometimes feel like that's going to come back and be meaningful. Like totally. Everything feels like it's ticking certain things behind the scenes, and it surfaces just enough of that to make you feel like you have some control over the direction of the story, but it also is inviting you to role play and to like play an interesting character. And so yeah, I would say that it is much more convincing in the way that it does the whole diamond thing than something like an Outer Worlds or even a Mass Effect. Because there's no like so-and-so will remember that. It's like I had an instance where I picked a dialogue option at one point, and then later on my partner was like, oh, I thought blank because you said this earlier. And I was like, oh, you were paying attention, I guess.
Yeah. I can definitely see that with like the wheelchair lady. Like she seems like she's paying hella attention to everything.
And there's things too, like it does a very smart job early on. There's a quest that I will be very vague because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but there was a quest that I was like, there was a piece of dialogue that I didn't really want to choose and go down the road. And the game kind of subtly encourages you. And then it sort of overtly encourages you. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll do it. And it's very awkward and not a thing that I wish it was a thing that I hadn't engaged with from a role-playing perspective. And I think that serves to explain to you that like the game's going to tell you stuff and that you shouldn't always listen to that. And also your dialogue choices have weight. It is not a game where you just go through every option and click them all. It is like, you need to measure what you're going to say to this person and think about it before you say it, because there's certain dialogue choices that take you down a tree that you cannot come back from. There is no like back or end conversation in a very real way, where it's like, if I say to you like something like, I saw what was going on in your basement, and you go, what do you mean? I can't just go like, no, never mind. That's not going to work in a real conversation. You're going to press me on it, and we're going to have to come to some kind of resolution, whether it's me trying to hand wave it away and you pressing me, or me just coming out and saying a thing. And so it's smart in that way too. It feels that's another way that the dialogue is very mechanical in that you really have to choose it carefully. So I don't know. It's a phenomenal game. I think you should pay full price for it if you have to, because it is worth every penny. And it's also of a length where with Game of the Year coming up, I'm going to switch back over to Death Stranding heavily after I finish it. But I could totally see playing it a couple times to kind of see different paths and different stuff play out based on different choices. But to sort of to your point, Alex, I also think it's cool because there aren't any really instances where you're like, do you press the button or do you not press the button? It's not that kind of a game.
Yeah, it's more cumulative.
And it's also like there was a character that I really, really liked. He's a cool guy, and we had like a really like deep conversation about a sense of self and stuff. And he had information that I needed to like kind of help the main quest along. And I couldn't find any other way to get the information. And he's like, please don't make me rat this person out. We're friends, like we're becoming friends. This is someone that I care about. I know they're not in trouble like on purpose. They're very on the edge. I'm really worried about them. And I need you to just drop this. And like, I could not drop it. I had to figure out the information. And so I pushed him on it, and he was like, you're a piece of shit. And I felt like, I was like, oh God, I feel so bad about this. And now every time I talk to him, he's like, oh, look, it's the guy I thought who was a good cop. And like, every time you run into him, he rubs it in as like, thought we were friends, man. So yeah, it's little things like that. It's lots of little things like that where your choices on who you say what to really matter, but there is no like, I'm siding with the corporation, I'm siding with the union, even though that is sort of the conflict that's happening. The game never asks you to like, you sort of can pick a hard side if you want to through dialogue, but it doesn't feel like they put a computer terminal in front of you and make you select one thing or the other thing, which is smart.
Interesting. Yeah, I want to get to that because everyone's been talking it up and it sounds really cool. But
but be warned, it is essentially a point and click adventure. Like it's not very mechanically deep in the sense of gameplay, but yeah, it's very dialogue driven.
Your interactions, your mechanical interactions are not very deep, but what's happening behind is very intricate and
yes.
And I think I was disappointed at first for that reason, but I think if you're someone who likes mechanical systems, there's still a lot of meat there in that like different gear gives you different stat bonuses, for example. So like if you put on gardening gloves, your physical interaction skill goes up. So you still can approach situations where it's like, okay, well, so I know you have to think about things. So if you like, I know that I'm going to be going into this situation where I think what's going to happen is I'm going to need to be able to talk my way out of something. Then you can kind of like put a skill point into something that is more dialogue driven. You can put on clothes that
get some speed.
You seriously, like the drugs change your like give you stat boosts. So in fact, I have a pack of cigarettes and the cigarettes raise your, like, they do a point of damage to you, but they raise your intellect stats. So if I have to like get into something very cerebral, I'll have my character smoke a cigarette before he does it. So there's still a lot of that kind of mechanical stuff where you're still thinking about like, what clothes do I need to be wearing? Where should I put this skill point? And is there like a substance I should like take a hit on? I'm playing the character as like trying not to drink and trying not to like do other drugs. So I haven't engaged with all of that stuff, but I'm sure it's tracking all that stuff too. So like if you start drinking, then it's not just a free stat boost. It'll come back and haunt you. So yeah, there's still a lot of depth, mechanical. The surface level of what a dice roll isn't that complex, and you're not like doing any tactical stuff, but it still has, it's more than just like, go here, talk to this person, make a choice, go here, talk to this person, make a choice. It has more going on than that.
Nice. Well, speaking of mechanics, I've been playing things that are much more mechanically complex than Disco Elysium. Somehow I lost an entire day today to League of Legends.
Entire day? Sounds like it was an entire week.
Well, that was what I was doing. Like in the evenings, I played a lot of League, but like today I was like, oh, it was one more game, one more Teamfight Tactics round, and then it was 9 p.m. and I went, oh no.
Yeah, it's dangerous for that stuff, definitely.
Like that was what happened to me in like college. Like I just played so much League and it was a problem. I still got my shit done for classes and whatnot better than in high school, but
yeah, same here in Dota.
It was tactics, sorry, Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, no, it's like, so I only played a little bit of Underlords. I played like half the tutorial on mobile for Underlords or something back when it came out. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And then I played Teamfight Tactics. I was like, oh, I see. I know who these characters are. I know what these items are.
That's really interesting to me.
Yeah, I think that does make a difference.
I actually don't think it makes a difference at all, which I think it's interesting. I think I'm probably wrong because enough people have said that it makes a difference that it clearly does. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong and it doesn't make a difference because your feelings are valid. But like, I think the characters are they're simple enough in those games. Like they only do one of their abilities and then have like a passive thing. I don't think it's that, if you've already internalized a MOBA before, I don't think it's that hard to like learn the characters because it's not even a full set of the characters. But also, I mean, if you just like the characters in League more, that's enough of a reason to prefer it. So
yeah. And like I said, I put like half the tutorial, and it was like hearing about like the length of games at that time when it was like 45 minutes for an auto chess game or whatever.
Yeah, that was the worst
time and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? I don't need this in my life.
Yeah, fair.
And so now coming back to League of Legends recently, like my ping is like 180 since my account is on the North American server, and I've got all my stuff is on that account. I've been playing on there, and there's no way I'm doing Summoner's Rift with 180 ping. I could, but it'd be a bad time. Yeah, exactly. So I play ARAM, all random, all mid. That's fun. And then Teamfight Tactics, and just the time just melts away. And I go, oh no, I've been playing for like 8 hours. Yeah. So if you're unaware of what auto chess or Teamfight Tactics is they have taken the characters, the champions from League of Legends, and put them on like a chess-like board where you draft your characters every round. Kind of, you buy them and select from draft pools depending on the part of the round. Then you put them on the board, and then you fight against each other and hope you win. Now, in Underlords, does it have like the champion synergy stuff or the hero synergy?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, okay. That's a core auto chess thing.
So you've got like this is a ranger character.
Yep.
And okay.
You get 3 of one type of character, and then it unlocks a bonus.
Yeah. So I've been sitting looking at like a tier list, like, okay, who's good? Okay, what I'm trying to figure out like how to draft my teams. I won once today, and then I got like second and third a few times after that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like it, but it's eating away my time, and it needs to stop. I can't go on like this.
Yeah, that was my arc as well. I was like, okay, I'm understanding this. And by the end I was like, yeah, I think I'm good, but like I can appreciate like the things it does super well. Like it is really fascinating, and mechanically, like, yeah, those synergies and how that affects and like the bonuses, and like it does make each round a little bit unique.
Like I made a guy like rage quit. I think he was so mad because our round came up, like we fought, and then he said, what the fuck, this kid has 3 level 3s and I can't get anything I want. I'm like,
wait, is there chat?
Sorry. Oh yeah,
there's full chat in.
Okay, Dota Underlords just has like,
no.
Like,
so this is the only person I have seen get mad. He's like, this kid has fucking 3 level 3s. I can't get anything I want. I'm like, I'm sorry. So he's, go fuck yourself. What champions do I need to synergize that ability?
Yeah, it's got full league salt mode. I will say though, having getting back to playing, I've been playing like a couple ARAMs a week. Probably I haven't been playing it a ton, but I'm not good because I haven't been playing it that heavily and hadn't played in a long time, and no one's been like terrible to me. So it seems like I'm sure that if I was playing Summoner's Rift, it would be worse. But
they've done a lot of good stuff with like chat banning people who are rude and stuff like that. So like, because they won't necessarily just ban you right away, but they'll take away your ability to chat with people. Right. So you can still play, but you can't say anything. So
I've had some pretty dismal ARAM games where I've gone like 3-12 or whatever and not gotten shit on, which never used to happen. And so anyway, I think the differences between Underlords and TFT are really fascinating. And I do like those games quite a lot. I totally understand where you guys are coming from and like not being sure if you think they're fun, but I find them quite entertaining. And I think leagues like TFT, it's weird. I like the playing TFT kind of more in terms of, I like the hex-based board. I like the way their synergies work a little more, I think. And I like the ways that the items work. That's the coolest thing I think that TFT does over Underlords is in Underlords, you just kind of get items. You finish a round where you fight against neutral creeps, and then you get a choice to pick one of 3 items. Whereas with TFT, the items drop when you kill the neutral creeps in those rounds, but it's a little bit more like sometimes you can get 2 items.
Sometimes it's gold, or sometimes you get 3 heroes or 3 champions, and you're like, okay, that's
it's like they're like drops, and you like run your little player character over to pick up the drops. And then the items build. So one, you can't take items off of champions once you put them on, unless you sell the champion, then the item pops off of them. But then you also can combine 2 basic items to get a advanced item. So that stuff I think is cool and more interesting than the way that Underlords does it, where you're just getting an item and you can freely move them around. And then I also like TFT has the roulette round where there's like a bunch of champions walking in a circle, and they're randomized. Yeah, it's like a little draft thing. Like whoever is in last place gets to pick first.
But even then, if like the character you want is on the opposite side or like just past you, then you've got to like run around.
Yeah, and somebody else, like let's say you want the like epic character that has an item attached that you really want, and they're on the opposite side of the spinning roulette wheel. You have to like click over to it, and maybe somebody else gets their turn before you get there, and then they can steal it from you. I actually have done that to people a couple times.
And it isn't like you can just click on the character, because if you just click on the character, they'll make a beeline for it. But then the first character or the first like champion they touch will then get grabbed.
Collected. So you have
to
a really
be
weird
very
little
deliberate.
It's actually a very Dota thing, because it's like a weird little bit of micro that you have to do.
Yeah,
in certain rounds. But I like all that stuff a lot. I like the interface a lot. It's lacking in information in a way that is a little frustrating at times. But I have Blitz GG installed, and if you run that overlay, it'll give you like up in the corner, it'll place like a rundown of all the items that you can mouse over, so you can kind of see like what all the combinations do. But they're basically their equivalents in the core game. So if you know what a static shiv does, then it does the same thing in TFT pretty much.
I just want to know if it's good or not. I gotta get that tier list. Best tier items, baby.
Get some divine rapiers.
The flip side though is that
only BKB.
Underlords, they've done so much work on all of the peripheral stuff. Like now it has that knockout mode, which the games take like 10 minutes, which is really cool. TFT games still take like 20 to 30 minutes, depending. They're still kind of long, whereas knockout mode is like super quick, which is fun. It has duos, which is really fun. My partner and I play a fair number of the duos games, and those are a blast because you and your partner, you fight against another team of 2, and you can, and then the damage is tallied across everything. So like if I win really hard and my partner loses really hard, it evens out and just like no damage is dealt. Or if your team just like bodies the other team, you can deal like 40 damage in a round out of 100 health. And then you're also like able to freely trade gold and characters back and forth, and you get different shop pulls every round. So like your partner will get like might get something you need. So it actually feels a little less RNG-y because you're because you have like a wider range of things you can do as long as you're sort of talking to your partner. And then it also has UI to say like, hey, your partner has one of these, you should buy it for them. So I like that stuff. And then they also introduced the Underlords themselves after a while, which are like characters that have talents that you choose as you level up, like over the course of the rounds. Which
are those different from Dota characters, or
they're not Dota characters.
Okay,
they're new, like Anesix, and I forget what the guy is called, but Anesix is like a summoner. She summons minions that add to your board, and then the other guy is like a nuker. He does damage, and you pick their talents. It's not as they level up. It's as you level up. It's over at certain rounds. Everyone gets to pick a talent. And that stuff's really cool. And then I also love what Underlords does with its jail, where every 24 hours, a different set of characters just gets banned, like locked out. They won't show up. And it can be anywhere from like 5 or 6 characters to like 20 characters. So that makes it interesting because like sometimes they're really quick with patching to try to do balance fixes, but some days it's like, motherfucker, this like Juggernaut is just like in every game that I play, and then you'll come back the next day and Juggernaut will be in jail. So it keeps it dynamic, keeps it like interesting.
Yeah.
But Teamfight Tactics has really cool stuff too, so it's kind of hard to say which one's like better.
Free Juggernaut
From his jail.
They've done with like the ARAM and like the game proper, like the actual MOBA stuff. They are changing so much stuff in that game, and I can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not played, like I played a little bit last year, but then even before that, it had been a long time since I played, just because living in Japan and whatnot. And Champions that got reworked like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I go in and I'm like, doing some ARAMs. I'm like, oh, Mordekaiser, I know him. Oh yeah. And then suddenly he does his like ultimate, and I'm like, what is this? Why am I in this ghost arena? Where did everybody else go? It's just me and Mordekaiser on this spectral plane. What the fuck is this? I don't know what these moves do. And so it's very, or like I get a champion, I'm like, I don't know what you do anymore.
And then
that's why
it shows you a generator, and it's like, do you want to save these people or those people?
Yeah, it's the trolley problem, but
you that's part of why I've been playing a lot of ARAMs, because I'm at a total loss for what a lot of characters do outside of their archetypes, because they've changed so much. And ARAMs are a good way because it pulls from the pool of characters you own. Like, you're not going to roll characters you don't have
unless they're free that week.
Yeah, right, of course. But it means that largely you're playing against characters that people are actually playing in Summoner's Rift, because why else would they own them? Unless there's someone who just buys everything. I get that those people exist, but
stuff comes in and out of meta.
I know. So, but I guess more what I'm getting at is it's not like you don't see a lot of like super niche, really hyper specific characters in ARAM unless someone plays that role. So it's character you get to kind of as a helpful way to like learn how some of the characters are working is my like roundabout thing.
But then people do like weird builds, like you got AP Nasus, where he's not supposed to be. He does ability power. He's a big dog. He's a dog man, like Anubis kind of. And
he looks like Anubis.
And he does like magic stuff, but he's supposed to be a tank. But then you build a like magic power on him, ability power, and he does too much damage.
I think he's in meta right now too.
So if people, or like AP Malphite, or basically you just take any champion and you put him like a ability power on him, and then you just become too strong.
Because in League, the way it works is like your basic attacks do physical damage and your skills do ability damage generally. I know there are some that don't, but it's not like there aren't like strength, intelligence, and magic characters like in Dota. It's characters are generally either they focus on their attack damage, or they focus on their ability power, or they're tanks, or they do like something weird. But it means that like a character may be like a tank and it may have like a stun that does X amount of damage. But if you stack shitloads of AP on them, then suddenly that one stun ability is like enough to like take out a lower health champion in like take out a third of their health or whatever. So it's funny.
ARAM is a weird, cool thing that I really enjoy playing.
Yeah. And people are generally pretty chill in it because it's not tied to like rank or anything. Yeah.
I played with a Rioter actually,
cool.
A person from Riot, and they did like the boost thing where you get like everyone in the team gets like a skin to use, and you get like extra like currency afterwards. And so I got to play as the Sailor Moon Star Guardian Zoe, which is always fun.
I got to hand it to them too. Not that I find Dota's systems of like unlocking cosmetics to be pretty arcane at this point. It's really like there's some stuff you can just straight up buy, and that's great. But like the like drop stuff in Dota now is hard for me to wrap my head around. But I got to hand it to them in League. They do a good job of the way that all that stuff works is pretty clear. It's still, you still have to like kind of learn it, but it's basically like you'll get like shards for characters and skins, and over time, if you collect enough shards, you unlock the thing, or you can also use them basically as like a discount towards just buying the thing. It's really cool and very smart, I think. Like I have shards for like a Ziggs skin, and I never play Ziggs, but as I get more shards, I can just like either get it for free and it's cool that I just have it, or if I get really into Ziggs and I want to get that skin, I could get it for like half off because I have half the shards I need to craft it. I really like that system. I think it's cool and intuitive.
Yeah, it's random enough that like people will still want to buy the stuff, but it's, you know, it's
it feels like a nice bonus as someone who played that game before any of that stuff was available, when it was just like you buy everything. It's kind of cool now that there is some system of like, it's kind of loot boxy because you are pulling them from chests, but it's doesn't feel like super exploitative or anything. Because worst case is going to be like, oh, I don't really care about this character, I'm just going to leave this shard sitting here.
Or turn it into currency, either way. But yeah, that's League of Legends. It's still a game that I think is very good. Teamfight Tactics I'm undecided on, but the rest of it it's oh god, it's bad.
I also think that
bad in a good way.
Like Dota, this isn't a knock against Dota, because I think for a lot of people they want this, but when you hit play in Dota now, there's like 10 different modes that pop up. It's got like turbo mode and like turbo draft and, you know, captain's mode and all pick, and it gives you all of that stuff like right up front when you hit play. Whereas I do appreciate in League, it's pretty clean, where when you click play, it's like Summoner's Rift, ARAM, or Teamfight Tactics. You can dig into custom games and stuff if you want to. There's like a little button for it in the corner, but if you're someone who's new to MOBAs, it's very clear and very easy to just get playing. You're not necessarily going to have to like stare at a screen and go like, oh shit, well, what does this mean versus this? Instead, it's very much like
what is captain's mode versus captain's draft?
Exactly. And so again, it's really not a criticism of Dota, because if you're a Dota player, you want access to all those modes. But it is nice as someone who is playing MOBAs really casually right now. Like I'm playing a few games of Smite and a few games of League a week right now. It is really nice to boot up League and just click like have very simple menus to pick what I want to do. I appreciate that.
Yeah, they need to keep it simple because it's for babies.
I don't know, man. The new season stuff.
Just joking.
I almost wonder, the new season stuff for League is really cool, but I almost wonder if like someone at Valve got wind of the patch notes and they were like, holy shit, quick, we need to put in 69 new items.
1v1 me in the river, Alex.
Because League season changes are pretty wild too. Like the dragon is like different.
They changed the map.
Yeah, they changed the map layout a little bit, and
it's a stupid thing though.
And
Did they move Roshan from the right to the left?
Sort of.
Well, maybe they did something. They put in the corners. They put like an extra little like ring thing you can go in. It's weird.
Basically, like, where the secret shop is, and not secret shop, side shop is in Dota. Yep. There was never anything there. Now there's like a place you can go there.
So there's ring. There's a ring thing. Does it have you doing like overhead presses and like doing bows and?
It doesn't.
No, you got to run through it.
Oh, okay.
It's like a place you can like duck out of the lane to go hide, I guess. But like if someone sees you do it, then they can just corner you in there. So.
But then you put a ward down, then your whole team teleports to it, and then you got an explosive team fight.
Excuse me, what? Boom. A ward? Yeah. What?
Yeah, a ward. They're free.
They're free in Dota now too.
But wait, you can teleport. You can TP to wards.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
Cool.
You put teleport on like your F key and then you teleport.
So in League, teleport is a spell.
Oh right, yeah.
You don't buy scrolls.
Like just like so. One of my favorite things is people always debate where does Flash go, and so your summoner spells, which Flash is one of.
You put Flash on F.
D and F. No, you put Flash on D. D for Flash.
No.
Yes.
Put it on F because F has a nub, so you can always find F. You can always get your finger to F.
You can always finger F. Yes.
You can always finger F. And F for flash. There's a lot of reasons.
Finger F to pay
I'm
respects.
pretty sure I also have my spell keys set to F and G, not D and F.
Wow. Custom turbo extreme gamer.
It's just so I don't bump the D key and
okay. Executive decision here. We need to move on from League of Legends. As much as I love League of Legends, we do need to move on. Alex.
Hey.
Crickets?
Yeah, I was playing that cricket game that got banned from Steam.
Ashes?
Yeah, no,
Don Bradman.
Yeah.
Don Bradman's Ashes.
There's a cricket game on Apple Arcade.
Yeah, there totally is.
There is.
Like
I thought
really
about
bad
installing it.
I installed it on the iPad I bought.
It looks like trash.
It's like a goofy thing. It's cricket through the ages. The icon is a dinosaur holding a cricket bat.
I was thinking of something else.
And it's like it might be trash. It's multiplayer. It can be, at least. You can play it single player or multiplayer. And then you're like throwing balls at dinosaurs. Like it's like the development of cricket, and you're throwing balls at dinosaurs and jousting and stuff. And then there's a rocket, and I couldn't fly the rocket. It was too hard. So I played like 5 minutes.
No, there's a sports game on there. It's not cricket, but it's like a serious sports game, and it did not look very good.
Well, I have no comment on that.
Yeah. No, I did not actually play cricket. It's because I didn't actually play any games this week.
Okay. Well,
we can talk about Watchmen. We can talk about.
We can't talk about Watchmen without Sam.
We can talk about Attack on Titan's manga. We can talk about the book. Wait, what's it called?
I'm reading One Piece.
Oh God, right.
I don't want to talk about One Piece. I'm sorry.
We can talk Gum Pistol.
We can talk about the Gum Pistol is super stupid. But I've been reading the book Tiny Beautiful Things, if you want to talk about that. But no, we're already like an hour and a half into this.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about bullshit.
We can talk about League more.
We can talk about the $10 million settlement that Riot's paying out to the women who worked from like 2014, what was the last 5 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Gender discrimination lawsuit against Riot in the state of California has been going on for some time. Was this tied to the walkouts this year, last year, this year? I don't know when any of this happened.
Tangentially, but I don't believe this was one of their conditions.
Okay. Yeah. So
I believe that these are the cases that this is one of the cases that they forced into arbitration.
Maybe. Yeah.
That it is tied to the forced arbitration stuff, but it's like a chicken and the egg kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically Riot was accused of underpaying women, discriminating against them in their workplace, not giving them opportunities or paying them less, that kind of stuff. And they settled out of court because of course they would, and paying 10 million out to like 10 million total out to any woman who worked there from like 2014 to 2019, I believe. And Riot has had problems, probably still has problems, but from accounts from people there things are getting better at the studio. Culture is changing slowly or not. I don't know.
Anecdotally, it sounds like there are that people who have been problem people, men who have been problem people specifically, have been made to feel less like their problematic behavior has been less accepted from people that I don't have like hot sources or whatever, but like I do know a couple people that work there and have heard that that culture, there is a noticeable culture shift that is trying to happen. It's the people that I know there that work there are men. So I take that with a grain of salt because they're not the people that felt like the workplace was hostile towards them in the first place.
Some men, it sounded like, did with the whole ball tap thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not saying that didn't exist, but these men in particular would not be very, like, I don't know how good at reading what it's like to be a woman at Riot, they are.
Sure.
But their perception, I mean, I think they're pretty decent people myself, and their perception is that things have continued to sort of improve, or attempts have at least have been made. And I've heard about a couple of super toxic people, the guy who worked on Avatar and as the Dragon Prince.
That guy, the Aaron.
Yeah, he sounds like a total dirtbag.
Yeah.
And he was at Riot during the peak of like this problematic shit, like back in 2014, 2015 or whatever. So people like that, it seems like, have kind of moved on and been sort of pushed out or left of their own volition. So hopefully things are improving there. I think the money is like, we got to see what that breaks out into per employee to know if that's.
And it's based on how long they were there and stuff like that. Of course, if they settle out of court, they're paying less than they would if like things went to court, probably. But
they're paying less in fees for sure.
Yeah.
Legal fees and stuff.
But yeah, like they're not going to have like a judge throw the book at them and go, all right, $100 million amongst those people or whatever. But yeah. Another thing is, I heard, like, because back when they did like their 10th anniversary stuff in like September, October, like they announced like a bunch of games, and someone from where I was saying that like all the games they announced were helmed by people of color or women. And so that, that seems to be a shift, at least, where those people are being put in more prominent positions and in charge and directing games. So hopefully that pans out.
Yeah, we can hope, for sure.
Yeah.
They're a big studio.
I just hope it's not saving face. Like, it's not just an arbitrary, I'm putting this person of color or a woman there for image. Like, as long, like, I imagine all these people are super qualified. Like, I don't actually know any of them. I haven't looked at their CVs or whatever. But like, I just hope that it's not just Riot trying to save face and placate people. And I hope it is actually a shift.
I think they would have been more vocal about it had it been.
This was just like one tweet I saw from like maybe someone who worked there, and that could be like, oh, we're gonna do like some subtle PR and tweet this out, please.
That's totally fair.
But hopefully that pans out.
Agreed.
And that actually ties into another bit of news that I forgot, but I'm going to add in right now. Riot announced they're going to be working with third parties to make games in the League universe.
Yeah, that's
like Riot Forge is like the initiative or something. They're going to be making more games based in the League universe. I don't know what that's going to be.
I hope it goes well obviously I hope it goes well, but like, I hope they don't. My hope is that kind of more means like, hey, you want to make a card game? I mean, they have a card game that they're making, so that's a bad example. But like, if you want to make
Disco Elysium, but in
so that's what I'm worried about. Is I don't know how explicitly it's about video games,
Shaolin monks, but
what if they make a 4X and they go Sid Meier's?
That's kind of the
Sid Meier's League of Legends.
That's the stuff that kind of I don't know. I would hate for there to be 30 different video games all based on.
Oh my god!
That thing.
Creative Assembly doing a League of Legends tactics or like strategy game.
That stuff would be interesting, but what I'm worried about is that it's going to go the route of Warhammer, where it's like some unproven developer in like European country that has never made a game before, scrape together money to get a license, and then puts out something that is like broken and not good.
I feel like Riot wouldn't do that. Maybe, who knows?
Agreed. I always thought that for a long time. I thought Games Workshop would never do that, and now there's like a billion trash Warhammer games. So, I don't know.
Sure.
My hope is that this Riot Forge thing is also a way for people to make, like, if you wanted to make a board game, or if you wanted to make some like cool figures or something, that it's a way for them to make it easier to license art and concepts out to stuff outside of video games too. But I don't remember if that's something that they talked about at all in the announcement.
They should get Peter Molyneux.
Oh God.
Peter Molyneux and Dennis Dyack working together finally.
I could also see cool stuff like, I mean, again, they're coming out with like a tactical shooter and a card game and a fighting game, but it could be cool to see like to see like lead characters guest in other games too. Like,
Sure.
I don't know how open they would be to that, given that they're producing games across multiple competitive genres now. But
put Teemo in Smash.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like stuff like that would be clever and fun, I think. Like, you know,
Cryptic
get a
Necro Dancer.
Halo, yeah, or like you get a Halo skin that's like I don't know, a helmet or something from that ties in with Wild Rift. I don't know. That sort of stuff I find kind of fun. Like right now, Smite, I actually kind of dislike the show. I don't really get it.
There's a show?
Yeah, let me finish.
Smite?
I don't like. No, there's not. I'm getting there. So they have their current battle pass is themed around Ruby.
Okay.
So like all the skins are basically turn characters from Smite into Ruby characters. And like I have a lot of issues with Rooster Teeth, and I have no interest in ever watching an episode of Ruby because what I saw of it I did not like.
Interesting.
But
what happened with Rooster Teeth?
Oh, there's a lot of they've had. I mean, most recently, one of their fairly prominent people like was arrested for domestic abuse and stuff, and
I didn't hear any of that.
They fired him, but like last I checked hadn't made any kind of statement about it or anything, and they've had issues. I don't have sources for this stuff because it's all Twitter stuff that I heard that's from a while ago, but there's been talk that like it's not necessarily the best to be a woman that works there. If you go back and like there's a lot of red versus blue stuff that has not aged well at all. Like they used to throw the R word around like almost every other episode, which I hadn't remembered, but I watched some of it and I was like, wow, this stuff was pretty bad in some ways.
But I mean, if they're not using it now, like standards have changed and whatnot. But I have kind of issues with. I side eye Rooster Teeth a lot.
Exactly. I'm not trying to launch some campaign. If you like Ruby, that's cool. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with liking that, but yeah, I don't know. I've also heard some stuff about Bernie Burns just being kind of a major dick before, and if he wants to prove me wrong, I'd be happy to chat with him. But,
invite him on this show.
Yeah, he's welcome to come on the show anytime. But
debate me, Bernie Burns.
There was I never really understood it, but that's part of the gag from what I have gathered of the whole like Giant Bomb. There was a while where like Giant Bomb and Rooster Teeth were trading like best podcast awards.
Yeah. From
the Webbies or something. And Jeff always kind of like didn't talk about it. People would ask about it at Q&As, like, how do you feel about Rooster Teeth winning this year? And if at the time it always just seemed like a joke, but I think there's also a like kind of direct desire to not cross those streams from the Giant Bomb folks to not like get involved with Rooster Teeth stuff.
Especially after that Fallout 4 thing. But
I don't even remember that.
That just they had a podcast where they're sitting around wearing like the Pip Boys like from the special edition of Fallout 4, and they're like, oh, these high and mighty games critics with their cheese and giving Fallout 4 like a 5 or whatever, and they very directly talking about Jeff Gerstmann's score, and it's just a ridiculous video. With zero self-awareness.
Anyway, I don't have a bunch of. You should not boycott Rooster Teeth based on my icky feelings about them.
You should have based on mine.
I don't have a bunch of sources for this stuff.
Mine is based purely in fact. You can find that video on YouTube. Go watch it.
Yeah, my impression is that it's
shenanigans.
There's some stuff at RTX that I heard that was not great for people attending. Got dealt with maybe some shitty harassment stuff that wasn't handled very well. I don't know. There's a lot of that kind of hearsay that has gone around their products.
Yeah. Hearsay.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on. Hey nephew, I got some news for you.
Oh God.
Snoop Dogg is being added. It has been added.
Has been added.
Has been added. Hey nephew, I got news for you. Snoop Dogg is gonna be in NHL
20, which is the currently available.
Trying to make it rhyme with nephew and you.
It's
but
very
20
weird.
Doesn't rhyme with that. I fucked up.
Beyond the general strangeness of it, it's also weird because like hockey's done.
And I mean, very white. Why? Does like hockey? He's an entrepreneur. He's a Renaissance man. He can do whatever he wants. But
I guess
when I think hockey, I don't think the Snoop DOGG.
And like hockey's not done. It's starting again. So,
do you have a cold room? Hockey's playing.
Yeah. Wait, when does hockey? What is wrong with me? When does hockey start? I'm probably way off. I haven't paid attention to hockey in a while.
No idea.
I thought I remembered reading that he also randomly is your commentator. Like it's not like DLC or something you pay for.
That's very funny.
It's that just sometimes Snoop Dogg will be commentating on your game. I read that somewhere. I don't know if that's accurate. I don't have NHL 20, so
yeah. The Stanley Cup is in May.
Yeah, what am I talking about? It's hockey started in October. I went from living in a state where hockey happens all the time, like throughout the year, to not at all at any time. So forgive me for being for brain farting on that.
Do we have any choice quotes, Alex, from Snoop Dogg's commentary?
No, it's exactly what you would expect. It's just him saying, D-O-double-G here. Rah, rah, rah. Like there's a whole video of him just saying, like basically just saying, yeah, Snoop Dogg coming at you. Like,
did he make a song like for Gran Turismo 3?
No, not so far as I'm aware. I wish he did though.
Damn. That song was pretty good. Yeah, the 25th anniversary of the PlayStation. That's a segue.
He was in those Spyro commercials.
What
was he?
Snoop? What? Yeah. He was in commercials for the Spyro trilogy. That's a PlayStation.
Oh, like
it's not really a PlayStation thing, but it was
not the original Spyro trailers.
No, the reignited triology. He there was like this like
really good. Did he like light a blunt on with Spyro?
No,
did Spyro light his blunt?
But Spyro does blow fire at him at one point, and he kind of gives a knowing look. At least I think it is a knowing look.
Oh man, missed opportunity. Legalize marijuana so Spyro can light
smoke down with Snoop. No, I want them to both have their own blunt.
I didn't say that he couldn't. No, he just needs to light Snoop's.
Those commercials are very good. It's like a drone Spyro thing flies over his like studio or something and then like lands in his parking lot and gives him a copy of the reignited trilogy. You should look them up. They're good.
Okay. Well, speaking of things that are good, the PlayStation, in my opinion, is good.
PlayStation, and it's the first.
Yeah, and it's all of them. I like all of them. I've been PlayStation from birth till death.
The PlayStation TV.
I did not use a PlayStation TV. I did not own a Vita, but the PlayStation 1 through 4, those are some quality consoles. Even though when I got my PlayStation at age 5, I did not receive a memory card, so I played through like the first half or 3/4 of Spyro many times.
Yep.
Never beat it.
You're like just playing a little bit of Ape Escape every here and there.
And then I'd be like, oh man, I'm playing Harry Potter. Oh man, I got so far this time. Okay, I'm going to leave it on. I'm going to turn off the TV and then we're going to go. And then I come back and I'm like, why is it off? What happened?
Did you know that memory cards existed and you didn't have one?
I was 5.
Okay.
I didn't know shit.
No, fair. I'm just curious because that makes it better if you weren't aware that you could have been saving your progress.
I think I was like, wait, why do I have to do it again?
Yeah.
And then it took a long time to get a memory card, and then eventually I did. But it took a long. I was aware, like, I can't save, like eventually. But yeah. So then, like, we were leaving, I was like, okay, I turned off the TV, but the PlayStation's on, and then I saw my mom turn it off. I'm like, no, my Harry Potter progress. It was for the first game. Oh man, that game was good.
I played Bubsy 3D on the PlayStation 1. That was a
Oh, did you
mistake.
go to the James Turrell retrospective?
I wish. Man, that version is so much better. Where you go to hell and blow up that Applebee's.
Did Bubsy 3D on the PlayStation have a verbosity slider?
No, it did not.
Oh.
That is an improvement in the recent games. He just quipped.
Yeah, okay. I like the PlayStation. It's been my platform of choice since I was 5 years old. They make the games I like. Happy 25th anniversary, PlayStation.
I've always kind of, I've never really had a specific, like at times I've enjoyed Nintendo's output more, at times I've enjoyed Microsoft's output more. Like I think the One X, having both a Pro and a One X now, I think the One X is like the better console technically, but at the same time, I think that, you know, it's hard to argue that anything other than Sony having a better set of first party games this generation, which has been
and having first party games.
Yeah. I mean, again, I would say that like Forza is very good and Gears is fine. Like
people like Killer Instinct.
Yeah. I think, but I think the thing is that, you know, if you're someone who has a PC, then those games aren't really exclusive to Xbox, which is a good thing.
But even outside of that, I look at like I've played and liked 2 Xbox One games, and that was Forza Horizon 3 and Forza Horizon 4. And everything else I've been like,
I have a similar. I don't think that I'm not a big Naughty Dog fan. I mean, respect for what they do technically, but
sure.
Given that their output is like a fairly decent chunk of the PS4 exclusive, like big PS4 exclusive games. I mean, Uncharted 4 and Uncharted 4, the expansion to Uncharted 4 and Last of Us, and now Last of Us 2 coming. Like,
but Last of Us was a PS3 game. It's just remastered,
I guess.
Calling it a big chunk of the PlayStation 4 lineup is, I'd say,
maybe not.
It a lot. That's like there are a lot of PlayStation games.
I can think of 2, 3 off the top of my head that really this generation that have been really impactful to me.
God of War.
I can think of God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Spider-Man. Spider-Man, I think it's bullshit that that's a PS4 exclusive, frankly. Like, yes, they own that studio now, but it's just, I don't know. That has always kind of rubbed me the wrong way that they locked up a character like that.
You can blame John Drake for that one.
Sure, that's fine. I'll blame whoever. I mean, I get it, but it's also, I think it sucks that character is tied to a platform exclusivity. But yeah,
if we get Yuri, what's his name? Yuri.
Lowenthal.
If we get
Lowenthal,
Yuri
voice,
Lowenthal. Yeah, we get Yuri Lowenthal drunk, and he can call John Kutera and cry a little bit and tell him that he wants Spider-Man to be free and to be on both consoles.
Yeah. How about Bloodborne?
Well, so that's the thing I was going to say is that I think that one, Bloodborne, I haven't actually, like, I played a good bit of it, but it's not fair for me to I don't think it's fair for me to say like I love that game because I haven't finished it before. I'm planning on trying to do that next year. But I think that because the PlayStation was a much stronger console for like the first half of the generation, it means that there's a lot of de facto stuff, like Yakuza wasn't coming out on the Xbox, for example.
Yeah, sure.
So they have a lot of kind of console exclusive games and games that are better on PlayStation that is kind of tied to Microsoft's poor performance in the first half of the generation. So and a lot of that stuff is coming to Xbox now. So it's hard for me to like all the Yakuza games are coming to Xbox, and Kingdom Hearts is coming to Xbox. And again, like the only current gen game, I get it, is Kingdom Hearts 3, and that released on both, but those collections are coming to Xbox. So I am less of a, I personally, for my taste, there's a little less disparity between the two than for a lot of people. Cause like I enjoy Forza Horizon 4 a lot more than most Sony stuff, other than those 3 that I kind of mentioned. So I don't know. I have a complicated relationship with it because I understand that it feels to me like the general consensus is all of Sony's games are really incredible and holy shit, they have the best software, and Microsoft's trash and their first party output is garbage. And I think that's a little, it rubs me the wrong way because it's like, it feels console war-y in a way that's like, come on.
Yeah. For me, I just like, I tried Gears of War 5 and I was like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, no, it's not, it's the same thing it was before, I guess. And if you still want that, that's great. But man, that was a bummer. And yeah, I want them to be making more games, and I'm hopeful based on like the stuff they've been saying with like their studio acquisitions and stuff. I'm hopeful to be more interested in what they're putting out, but
yeah,
everything most things I have played that they've like been like pushing, I've ended up going like I can see what they're going for, but then I just end up not caring for it,
which is totally fair. I also think that like that perception in part is going to continue to come from the fact that they make their games more open and available on a wider range of platforms. Like Minecraft could be an Xbox exclusive. And if Minecraft was an Xbox exclusive, like that would be one of the games, whether or not it resonates with us, that would be one of the things that's like, well, Microsoft has Minecraft. And I think that's on a level of like, at this point, Nintendo having Pokemon, if they locked that exclusive up, because Minecraft is still super popular.
Yeah.
But they don't do that because that's not how they seem to operate. Same thing with like Double Fine's output now could be Xbox exclusive. I don't get the impression that it'll be at least on PC and at least coming to Steam and other platforms like it always has.
But also that Microsoft is starting to put out all their stuff on Steam.
That's what I'm getting at, though.
Yeah. So
it doesn't feel the same. If Last of Us came out on Steam, it wouldn't. I don't think that it would feel as closely tied to Sony as it does.
I mean, you did find the Quantic Dreams games coming out on PC. Like that's one thing, but like they're also not a first party studio. But like, I don't know. For me, I think you guys are both right in that. I think Microsoft, especially since like the Phil Spencer days, I don't know, the era of Phil Spencer, they've been so much better in their service side and like, you know, reaching their tendrils further and further and actually being like pretty well listening to their communities and to the greater community as a whole. Whereas PlayStation among the same timeline has just become more and more like insular and like rejecting whatever feedback they're getting and just doing really dumb shit. So like they're still making really good first party games for the most part. And like their exclusives are usually worth picking up PlayStation for because they're not putting them elsewhere. But I think Microsoft services are just significantly better right now.
And I'm certainly not arguing that their first party outputs are really comparable either. It's just I don't think that Microsoft's. I don't think it's fair, and I'm not even trying to put these words in anyone's mouth either. But I don't think it's fair to say, well, the PlayStation's better because it has better games. Because at this point, it's like. You can say Sony's first party output is significantly better than Microsoft's first party output and more prolific, but I think it's about a lot more than that at this point. And
I mean, I would say Sony's first party output has been more consistent. Like you look at stuff like Crackdown,
and like put out more games.
Like you look at Crackdown, and that was just a steaming pile, and like people feel one way or another about Sunset Overdrive, and like. I mean, that's not first party, but still, you know, like exclusives. But like, and the thing is, like, third parties have also kind of migrated to PlayStation for the moment.
And that was like install based stuff.
So I think that's maybe where people are coming from more is just because like it's become the primary platform. So they're like, oh, I'm invested in this because I put my money in it. But like,
And I think a lot of it is still dealing with like the ramifications of the Matric era of it's the all-in-one entertainment system, and you know, do you want to watch TV on your Xbox and like pulling away from like the game stuff. But like, I hope they turn it around and make some interesting games.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to whatever the Xbox 2 is. So speaking of PlayStation, sorry to steal your own segue, but they recently announced that there's going to be an event on the 10th which is a couple days before the Game Awards.
Yeah, stealing Keely's thunder.
Yeah,
I don't think that event's going to be very much.
I was going to ask.
Never are, but they said they're going to announce some new games.
I bet it'll be small stuff.
Well, the rumor is Resident Evil 3 is being announced.
That'll probably be their anchor.
Which I've been saying this whole time. I expect it to be announced at the Game Awards, but now like I could see it being announced at the during the State of Play thing because Sony had that co-marketing deal for 2, so I assume they have the same thing for 3 and 7. So I don't see them stopping. Well, so when do you think it comes out? Because I say in like January to March.
I think March.
I would say March as well, because that's the end of the fiscal year.
And they keep it under wraps and like blah, it's out. It's out right now. That would be so great. Oh my god, that would ruin Game of the Year for me.
I think we talked about it like a month ago or something, maybe less, but we were talking about like, okay, so if they do a Resident Evil 3 remake, what do they do to differentiate it from the Resident Evil 2 one? Because they kind of stole that idea from 2.
I think it's just a much more open space, because
that's what I'd be excited about.
And like the Nemesis being a bit more random than Mr. X.
I think you could make him like, if you have a bigger space and he's just more, mobile, roaming more freely.
So to me, if he's always there somewhere, that's what would be cool to me, is if he's always somewhere in the world.
I mean, Mr. X is once you get to that part of the game.
But I mean, like you're saying, in a more open environment. I haven't gotten far enough to encounter Mr. X, but are there ways to like actually manipulate his movement over a large space?
No, like once he shows up, he is always present in the he is present for the period that he is like in the game, and he is always moving around. You can hear him walking around and like looking for you. Right. And if you like you run, he'll be like, "Oh, I hear you," and he'll like start to make his way down to where you are.
I guess what
people have done stuff where they've like pulled the camera away to like watch what's happening, and it's really interesting.
I guess what I'm thinking is take that whole concept a step further, and like Nemesis is in front of your building you need to get into, and you set off a car alarm 2 blocks away, and then he goes to investigate. Is it kind of
that'd be cool?
It would be neat to see something like that. I don't know if they'll be able to pull that off in like the time they've been doing. Who knows when they actually started developing this? Like, was it shortly after they like kind of like, okay, we know what we're doing with 2, we figured out how we're doing it, and they're like, okay, we're going to turn this into 3 as well. Because
I don't know, but I think I mentioned it in our chat, but not in the podcast, that I think an interesting direction, in my opinion, would be go Resident Evil 7 with it. Make it first person, like make it more immersive. Maybe if it's PlayStation, have a PSVR version like Resident Evil 7 had.
That would be something.
That'd be upsetting. I don't think I can do that.
I expect Resident Evil 8 to be another first person game. And like in January, February 2021, like right after the PlayStation 5 launches.
I could see that. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Because I mean, Resident Evil 7's like 3 years old. These are different teams that are making these games. So I think by then Resident Evil 8 will be good to go.
Do you think they'll ever touch, like do remakes in this sort of generation of remakes for like RE4 through 6?
I don't think so. I think they'll just keep reselling. They don't have to for 4.
No,
they can just keep selling 4 as is, and people go, "Oh my god, 4."
Thinking as well. I just think it would be interesting.
Remake it. They don't need to use their resources or money to do that.
It would be interesting if 2 and 3 are the only games that we get in that style, like in the like. I mean, then they could do it first person, like you're saying, Alex. But like
they could do 1 again, like a remaster or a remake in this style, but I think that they just kind of keep re-releasing the games in their current forms.
They should do,
which is interesting,
a remake of Resident Evil Outbreak File.
Or do they do like another remake? Like, do they redo it?
That's what everyone thought they were going to do, but then they're doing that weird like asynchronous or asymmetric game.
Right.
I don't know.
What else would you guys want to see at that event other than Resident Evil? Like let's kind of tie the Game Awards and this together. Like what kind of announcements would you be really psyched on seeing?
I would like to see a launch window game from the Team Eco team.
Which turns into 10 years later.
I feel like they've been quiet for a while since The Last Guardian, and I would be interested to see what they're working on. Sure. I think that between that and the Game Awards, they need to announce some more games.
Well, they've been pretty upfront about saying, hey, we're going to be pretty quiet until we get like the PS5 out there. And so like maybe we hear about Ghosts of Tsushima.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably the one you hear about.
Like, I guess I think that like
if another trailer for Last of Us,
if it's into 2020 and the only game we know that's announced for PS5 is Ghost of Tsushima.
Well, I expect in February or March, probably February, we get the PS5 reveal, and then here's our holiday stuff.
That's doesn't feel like a lot of time. To me, I don't know. It seems like
between the console announce and the launch, or
and just I don't know. It doesn't. What games are they going to have? Because of like the timing of when all of their big exclusives came out, it feels like a weird time.
Horizon was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, so you would assume that Horizon will be a relatively early game.
They've already been talking about Horizon, like people have talked about Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
Really, that's in development for sure.
So
is Guerrilla big enough to have 2 games on the go?
Maybe
no.
I would hope kind of not.
I mean, I don't think so. Just because they like don't put out games all that often. They like put out Killzone.
Yep.
And then they put out a Killzone.
And we haven't heard about a bunch of staffing up happening.
Shadowfall 2.
Killzone. I hate Killzone. It's funny how much I love Horizon because I really don't like Killzone.
They're not the same at all, so it's not. I don't see how it's funny. I don't like. I don't know. I expect maybe Elden Ring at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
That would be fun to see.
I definitely hope Elden Ring hits at the Game Awards. I was really hoping Elden Ring was going to be a this gen thing. Like one last thing that they were going to squeeze out next year.
I bet.
It could be cross-gen.
I bet the Game Awards we get some new info about Scarlet that we didn't have before.
Maybe.
I bet Phil Spencer comes out and says like, "This is what it's actually going to be called," or something.
It's Doug Bowser, John Codera, and Phil Spencer on stage, and Phil Spencer goes, "Hey, I got something for you." He's like, and he does a cross chop on his
and then Katara says, "Well, I got something for you," and then it's a PS5 thing.
Oh man! And then Doug Bowser goes,
and then it's just a video of Bowser.
And he snaps.
And then Phil Harrison, they pan to him in the audience, and that's all they get.
A single tear drips down his face. Man,
no, he just grins and waves.
That man is tall, isn't he?
Yeah.
He seemed tall in those videos, on those green screen videos. I'm like, man, he's a giant. What do you want to see, Alex? What do you hope to see? What do you think we'll see?
I would love to see some kind of concrete naming.
Genie?
Well, I mean, we already know the name for the PS5, but maybe like if they were gonna show like what the shell will look like for the PS5.
They've said already that there's no next gen info on the state of play thing.
That's the thing that makes this super question mark and interesting to me is I just feel like they can't talk about. It's kind of what I was getting at too. Is like they can't really talk about new first party games for like maybe we get a Halo Infinite thing.
That'd be neat.
The game
would assume that they have some gameplay if it's launching.
No, it's a PlayStation event.
Well, so I don't know. There's been like some rumors. I think Jason Schreier was saying that the Scarlet dev kits are like real tough to get your hands on. Like they're super rare, where Sony's like, we're trying to get these in as many hands as possible.
Yeah.
I imagine that it's not super like different to develop for, other than like you get the load time, different stuff. But yeah, who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I wonder how much. I mean, and Alex, you can speak to this way better than I can because I'm not a developer of anything. But I wonder how much, how possible it would be for Microsoft to say, it's running on this architecture, and these are the specs. You can build your own dev kits for that kind of by building PCs, because I mean, they're both running on the same on x86 architecture, the PlayStation and the Xbox. But I feel like because the Xbox games are also run on PC, I don't know if that means that there is closer parity between the two in terms of a dev environment.
It's the way they're encrypted.
Versus PlayStation.
Yeah, it's purely the way they're encrypted. It's it's whatever's running the operating system. They encrypt that. Mm-hmm. So like it can be the exact same hardware, but it's running Linux versus running Windows, right? Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's a question: is the Xbox running some kind of sort of Windows based?
Yeah, I think
operating
the Xbox
system
is.
That's my impression and what I remember. So like,
they use UWP apps,
right? So is it? I guess what I'm getting at is if the PS5 is running on some kind of custom Linux based OS, that might make it more necessary to have dev kits of like that actual system versus Microsoft being able to say like, you're making PC games for a box that has these specifications and plugs into a TV, you know?
Yeah. Well, there was Microsoft made that promise so many years ago of like, the Xbox One will be a dev kit.
I think they made good on that.
They did make good on it, but not for a while.
But like you can use a PC to build an Xbox game, like an indie game, and then play test it on your Xbox that you have in your living room. So is my understanding. So I wonder if that means that it's like shoot for these specs and they can kind of be more careful with their dev kits and that the wizardry and like proprietary stuff is more how they pack it all in rather than what the actual specs are.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was also some stuff in that Schreier thing where I think they were saying it like it's like the dev kit aren't final yet. So they're still like
that's likely.
Where what's interesting because when you compare it to like Sony, who's had stuff out there and like in dev hands for a while,
and I think there's
what's going on.
I saw a picture of PS5 dev kits.
Yeah, I mean those have been out for a while. There's a place to order pizza.
I know that that there were the leaks that came out a while ago, and then they were confirmed to be real. But it seems like now that's pretty. They're just flying around all the photos and stuff. So.
Yeah, more pictures, like real life pictures are coming out more and more. Yeah, so someone's gonna show it. So someone's gonna show us a Xbox dev kit, and it's just gonna be like a Baby Yoda, and everyone's gonna be like, "Aha, funny joke." And be like, "No, it's real."
I don't know. I'm curious though if like both of these consoles are going to come out in the same window next year, or is
I bet
Microsoft
they do
release late? I would hope they would, because that's the only way I think to really for them to both like if one releases significantly before the other one, that's how we get in these situations where there's someone playing catch up for a whole generation.
Well, they released a week apart this time, and it was just they had bad business stuff going into it. So,
well, right, and that's what caused it this time. But in the past,
I mean, Sony came out a year later, and, but they also had like really like hugely different architecture and things like that. So it's
definitely not the only thing, but I would love to see them
there's red
together and be similar systems and not have horrible business stuff tied to them.
Yeah, of course. I imagine like maybe they do like a early 2021 launch. Like they say we'll come out in like holiday, January, but they're going to sell out either way. I don't think it matters.
For Microsoft, Project Scarlet is in the air, but I bet xCloud comes out somewhere around like halfway through the year, which just like sets everything up.
Yeah. And if they have xCloud, maybe they don't need to be there right when the PS5 is, because hey, you can stream all the Scarlet games on.
Yeah.
My big hope is that
cool.
that the way that this goes is Microsoft says, hey, you can stream a bunch of these Scarlet games on xCloud. So if you don't have if you want to, I would love to see Phil say, if you want to buy a PS5 this holiday and save your money, go for it. Play our games on your Xbox One X or your PC through xCloud, and pick up a Scarlet when you're ready.
Switch.
Play your Scarlet games on the PS5 through the xCloud app.
Ugh, that'd be great.
That would be super cool. I would love that too, but it's so
Sony
unlikely.
would never let it happen.
I don't think Sony would. Yeah, I think Sony would be the blocker there. And then I would love to see Sony on the flip side say, like, do you want to play, like we talked about in our chat, do you want to play Elden Ring? Buy it. It is a PlayStation game. And then when you play it and install it on your PS4, get upset that it doesn't run as well as it could, and then go buy a PS5 and then download it to your PS5 and pick right back up, and no upgrade fee needed. Your cloud saves carry over, all that stuff.
Yeah. Hopefully
that seems like bare minimum what they need to do to make this work. If we're talking like split gen games where you have to rebuy the game on PS5, like
they can't do that again this time.
They really can't. I don't think they can.
Like, with how much more prolific the digital store is, there's no way.
Well, and there's no, like, I'm not saying, I'm not knowledgeable enough to say there's no dev work in that upgrade, but it's not like porting a PS3 game to the PS4. We know that it's not the same amount of work to port something from PS4 to PS5. Yeah. The biggest thing I would imagine would be getting it to play with the resources that the hard drive makes available. That seems like the biggest.
Yeah. And if they design it from the get-go to do that, I don't expect like Horizon Zero Dawn unless they go back and they update it or patch it or whatever. Like if I put Horizon Zero Dawn into PS5 on launch, it would still have load times and whatnot.
I would think they would be
maybe
shortened, like an SSD,
but it would, maybe
it wouldn't have the like super
instantaneous, like the Spider-Man 1/8 of a second load time or whatever.
I saw some people saying that like eliminating load times is impossible.
Is it elitist?
What?
Is it classist? I don't know.
To eliminate load times?
Yeah, it's classist to eliminate load times.
I don't think eliminating load times is impossible. So I think it made me chuckle a little bit.
I mean, they have to get loaded somehow. It's just how forward they present that.
Yeah, but depending on how clever you are, like if the load is able to be reduced to a certain speed, and if you can build animation and stuff that makes it look like it's not happening, I think you can get to a place where,
like if it's using essentially NVMe drives, like M2 NVMe drives, and it's basically turning those into RAM. At some point, those loads get like trivial,
right?
Like it's milliseconds rather than seconds or minutes. But to say there's no loading is just wrong.
Well, you can't.
Perceptible loading.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah,
is more important.
like if you can hit the map in Spider-Man and hit a fast travel point, and then it loads while you're zooming in over a second. Yeah, then I think that would be cool. And I don't see, based on how fast that stuff has gotten, even if you're just using an SSD on like a PC. I think that it can't be impossible.
No, I agree. I think we're at a point technologically where even if you build a gaming PC today, like you can do that basically. So,
but because games are still built with hard drives in mind. So if for console games, if they know, okay, we have this kind of storage, we'll for sure, then they can.
Everybody has this.
Yeah, we can do some stuff. I'm hopeful for what that could be, what those new consoles could be. I expect we'll know more in approximately 3 months.
You know what I'm hopeful for?
Maybe 2 months. My future,
that the world doesn't explode within the next week, because guess what episode number we'll be on?
100.
The big 100.
Mm-hmm.
The big Lou.
I have to say that selfishly, looking at that number, I was like, I don't know that I have it in me to do like a 5-hour episode 100 podcast 2 weeks before we do like a 10-hour Game of the Year podcast.
No, we're not going to do a 5-hour podcast.
Yeah, no, what? I mean, geez, we've already done 2 hours today.
I know. This is what I was getting at. We were talking about like, well, if everyone brings like 3 games that really touched them this generation, like we're each going to go for an hour and a half then.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe we'll do something for episode 100. We haven't decided. We haven't really talked about it.
We were talking about the kind of a wrap up of the decade, some of our favorite things from the 10s. Maybe we could do
There's still 2020 left. It's the end of the. There's no zero. No year zero.
No.
Zero index.
The end of the
1990
the end of the 2010s. The 20 teens.
Yep. 2010 to 2019.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man. Like, okay, no, never mind.
If you work out every other day.
Work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You're working out every other day.
Yep. But I don't know. We might do that. We might not.
We might work out. We might do Wii Fit Adventure.
What if we did a Ring Fit? We did a Ring Fit stream
every other day on Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Camera on them, and they have to play Ring Fit.
That would be fun
for 5 hours.
Oh god,
I would not
nonstop
for 5 hours nonstop. That would not be fun.
I woke up and was in a very bad mood on Thursday, like the worst mood I've been in a while. One of those like, man, I guess sometimes I'm the thread is thinner than I thought it was kind of mornings of like, most mornings I put on a happy face. I'm in a pretty good mood. And that morning I was not happy. And so I played Ring Fit to get some of my aggression out, and I went a little bit too hard. And yesterday I felt I was just like a mess. My body was like not behaving.
Game of the year.
Nice. That's it. We've decided. Good work, everybody. Game of the Year podcast is canceled.
Yeah. There you go.
We'll let everyone know.
Yeah. Whatever you would want, send it to gaming@fix.space.
Yeah. What are your games of the decade? Send them to gaming@fix.space. Maybe we'll read it on the air.
I started making a games of the decade list, and that's brutal. Trying to come up with.
It's hard because a lot of stuff came out, and it also depends on what you define as stuff you like or what's important.
Yeah.
I always think of it in terms of what I like. Most important games.
I don't care what any of y'all like.
I think also most important games of the decade. I don't think it's
okay. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna spoil my hand in case we do the game of the decade. It's Minecraft. Like it is like it's the most important game that's come out.
I mean, if you
by far. Almost unquestionably in my mind.
I mean, if you want to do like an objective, like okay, on the industry, sure.
It's a little hard to like the thing about Minecraft.
No, we can't do this.
We won't go into it deep. That was a very succinct point is that the alpha for Minecraft came out in 2009, which does not mean that the game released then, but because it started having impact like immediately upon when that became available, it's like, I think that factors into the equation of how much impact it had. So I don't know.
It's up for debate, but yeah. Anyways,
certainly Minecraft is one of the most important games of the decade, if not the most important.
Yes. Yeah. But that is going to do it for episode 99 of Gaming Fix. I have been your girl's favorite PlayStation exclusive, Andre Cole. Alex, you can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. There should be a my review of Jedi Fallen Order up on the site today by the time you're hearing this or shortly after you hear this. Alex, where can people find you?
You can find me at Pornhub at COOLSL4W, where all of the Gaming Fix episodes are uploaded concurrently with everywhere else.
Great. And Pat, where can people find you?
So The Witcher 3, from a storytelling and like world design perspective, I think is
the greatest game ever made.
And I don't think we can just out and out say Minecraft is the most important, because there's games like The Witcher 3 that did things for storytelling and games and characterization that just because Minecraft was a bigger business success and is more like allows you more creative play, you can find me at PJC Plays.
Yeah, but my Witcher 3 is not in schools.
It should be.
Yeah. There you go. Mic dropped.
You can follow us. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Fix Podcasts. Sometimes we post clips and our reviews and whatnot up there, so you can keep up with everything we're doing.
You can play Gwent on your phone.
Ooh.
I hear that's the thing that's taking over schools now.
Not on PS4 and Xbox One anymore, though.
But on your phone.
Jerry, give me them cards.
Kids are gambling on Gwent games in between periods.
Son of a bitch, Gwent.
Yeah, this is a Boozer and Deacon. They lay in bed at night and play Gwent with each other with their beds across the room.
But they just found the packs, but there are no rules. And they
I'm talking about on their phones.
Oh,
how the servers and the cell network.
No, they have one of the physical editions. They found it, and they don't know their rules though. It didn't have the rules, so they just made up rules for how to play.
The rules they made up are that there's 3 rows, and you got to put the characters in the rows, and that make these total their strength, and whoever has higher strength wins the round. So it's basically like they figured out the rules already. Basically.
Good night,
Thanks
everybody.
for listening.
Gwent, game of the decade.
Ride to Hell Retribution. I'm turning this off. Okay, bye.